like you'll grow
Господи,
mold if
что
you
за...
stay here long enough.
Это
Где?
пальма.
But it's
Бывает.
still better than the
Всё,
fortress of Mirapede, that's for
М?
sure. It's not only damp there, but
Всё,
salty too.
Не слышу тебя.
я уснула спокойно.
Ну все, спи тогда, давай, спокойно.
Блядь, 9 времени.
Я тебе потом покажу, что было.
Только не судись без меня.
Да, судиться. Сейчас мы тебе закинем.
Ah, so the two of you are still here. Wonderful.
Oh, you're from the Palais Mermonia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm Isadora. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to look for you two before. I heard that afterward you went to the fortress of Meropide. Not at all. I'm well aware that you're friends of his. Actually, yes, inside the Opera House. The Maréchaussée Phantom has declared the incident.
A riot?
Well, that said, I don't personally think it was. Lady Farina was watching a performance at the Opera House, and while she was resting during an intermission, loudly accusing her of doing nothing about the prophecy. And before she could respond, others started to join in. The crowd continued to grow and protest against the high.
So people have...
I agree. People.
So what happened after that?
Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control, the Maréchaussée Phantom had their hands full maintaining order and did not.
So, you mean she's still missing?
That's right. The Maréchaussée has dispatched. That said, I don't think there's much to worry about. She is a goddess. Good. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to tell you about the situation, but...
Don't worry. This is more than enough to go on. Thanks for...
Is that so? Well, all right.
Well, sounds like we should hurry over to Poisson then. If we know Farina, and as we also, when Nervalet was talking, it would be hard for her to ignore being accused. Paimon thinks Farina's... Huh. Well, what do you think? Paimon knows the... In that case, there's not a moment...
Quit following me.
Want to outrun the law, you need to know how it works.
This place looks deserted. Guess all the survivors must have evacuated already. All that's left here are signs of devastation. Could Farina really be here? That's Farina, right over there. She really is here all on her...
Should I just... What was meant to happen did happen after all. I'm sorry. Give up, Farina. I'm sorry, but what can I even do? Who's that?
Don't worry, Farina, it's...
So,
Farina, you were...
what do you mean, tear stains? Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were? They even dare to tout their Archon! I must teach them a lesson. Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Maréchaussée Phantom are freaking out right next to them, too!
Hey, there she is! The Hydro Archon's over there! Quick, after her!
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are? They're just some rabbit... that's against the rules.
Farina just ran off. Quick, we have to catch up. be the place, right? Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to Pine.
What? What is the...
Hurry, they're almost here.
Fine. I suppose haste is... No, I mean, I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed. You're right.
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening? The ground...
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
It can't be. It's...
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Novelette's made some emergency...
Yeah, but the people of... It's true. I've been investigating the prophecy. I once had informants all over Tevat. I've tried all kinds of ways, too, to hold back the sea. But all my efforts proved to be futile. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly... Give up. I do indeed. I've thought about fate. Is really unreasonable, isn't it? But just now, it all became clear to me. As long as the final moment... Don't worry. Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly...
Come on! Paimon could have sworn...
Share, that's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone. A witness. Yes, I've heard that you... And if Tevat is in its entirety...
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So this is what it is. Yes, do not forget, however, that I am Focalor, the god of justice.
May I interpret these words as your refusal to stand trial? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it.
What the heck is going on? Did I just see an arc?
Wow, how utterly...
Lady Farina, what is the meaning of...
Shh! It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding. To be...
Looking for excuses again, huh?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my accept... I will admit that I've been... I'm sorry, everyone. I was You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. But now, it is time for the... Farina, will use this trial to show the world the... This time... Applause! choice. One of the, mark my words, this shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine! The trial of the
Woohoo!
Oh, now we're making it.
Why does it feel like Farina just took over the whole thing? Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic,
All right, then. Who will be...
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Then please speak, witness of two... Also, please allow me to ask, just how much work did you do to...
well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward and easy.
Navia, the president...
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as regular audience members, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more of the prophecy is fulfilled. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, when something like that occurred, you would let... So, we arranged for a second...
So, you mean... the ones who...
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate in the great...
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed at the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Araneas. Its cargo, of course, was an Archon. My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an
you're welcome?
Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off. We had to select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up...
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the...
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may...
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist... As for you, Traveler, I suppose you'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived. Oh? It's fine. It matters. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the very end.
Madam Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Hey, Charlotte! Oh, let Paimon see. Isn't this the... Wait, then that means this document is a perfect timeline. So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence every time we want to use something from our journey as evidence for an argument. Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duel you took part in at the Opera House. That's one for the history books, all right. I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case I'd been following all this time. I guess you could also see this as a happy coincidence. This is the first time Monsieur Nervillette had a difference of opinion with the Oratrice. Even the Hydro Archon can't figure a Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. The fortress of Meripede was almost destroyed in a single day. That I didn't witness that scene personally. According to Monsieur Nervillette, both Child and that whale should have been in the primordial sea at that time. I nearly lost my awesome friend Navia. To be honest, that still gives me shivers. The words of someone as extraordinary as a witch can probably only be truly understood when something surreal happens to you.
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervillette. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead, of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the action.
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct instead. I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon.
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine.
Yeah, even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric.
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Farina can be super irresponsible.
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since they were born. There, see? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me. If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the god of justice that you will...
An argument with near impossible odds, huh?
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. And if I was not the Archon...
That doesn't sound right. First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow...
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd see...
A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon, but in light of this claim, perhaps what I sent...
Nervillette sensed it too, huh?
Lady Farina is actually...
Well, it is true that it's...
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said. Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. For centuries, manifestations of my... One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice
against the Oratrice. But weren't you as confused as all the—
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are not—
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your while the court is in session, the principles of justice and the you will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges.
I never thought.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you, instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been—
The real Hydro Archon. It is true that I did not know why, but the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. You can't argue that just because—
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to
my power as an Archon.
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend—
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you—
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archon. Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone.
Isn't that?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power?
It seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. I'm still the same Farina you knew, please.
If what the prosecutor said is true,
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence.
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. That doesn't sound— It has been established that all Fontanians—
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can—
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the—
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the— including those of— So, Miss Farina, if we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this spud, if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has—
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of them.
Lady Farina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of—
Well, of course he had to tell her that.
She's just staring at the water without—
What's going on? Is she really—
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may—
Hey!
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand! Will you believe me now? I really—
Miss Siegewin? If you're present, Miss Siegewin, please—
Siege, don't be nervous. It'll just take a few— That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms of She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which—
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Farina, you may—
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get to—
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the sea. However, After extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve. We don't want anyone else to lose their life.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a... It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used.
I can't. Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me. Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that? Also, if I was really just a. Please, everyone, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your arc.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't...
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway her. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale,
What's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
no, the Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus: to be punished via the death sentence.
That's actually one of the available sentences?
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the...
Farina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's, is this sentence really appropriate for the
Yeah! Even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the...
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, but now the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the...
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it. I assume this...
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me.
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for...
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. But has the trial already concluded? Then...
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on... Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates.
Huh? So what do you see? What is...
I believe I have now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with...
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that... so when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean...
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be... However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently...
Okay, all the contents of the The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids could... The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping... This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their... The third slate shows the Hydro Archon see... That reminds Paimon... Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial, and the first stone slate tells us that long ago the Hydro Archon used her. This might be the reason that Fontanian... Perhaps what is about to take place has the true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervilet and the original sin cast down on the people of... It's not as simple as fall. When Navia fell into the sea, the stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon. Prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontania. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have...
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will... The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of... The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about... The stone slate's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light. Now, so that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like we're going to have to share some truly shocking revelations.
Let's hear them.
Incredible.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primal... Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved,
Indeed.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratries judged the Hydro Archon to be...
The Hydro Archon's true sin?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese.
Yeah! Isn't the image here just like with Nav. So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate? In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher.
Well?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and in the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanid's blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian, but it does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids. They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, Everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled.
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fact about the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meropide served as the shore. However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be as for the root cause of the catastrophe. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the opera house? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that it has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. And once it has finished consuming all...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids...
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians nigh impossible to resist. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food. Food in the form of Fontanians.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect expected to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed, that's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may... Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening? Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what.
What's happening with the Oratrice?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina!
No, I still need answers.
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face.
You are not Farina.
Ah, the sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding...
Fusalo. Why did...
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, the heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles?
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria, for the uninitiated. And she knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly... So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible... I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I had to outwit the heavenly principles. Allow the prophecy... I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand.
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity, and the human counterpart I left behind, I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Farina is only human. Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other. Oh, I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years, and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely.
Oh? Who permitted you to come onto this stage? All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just... Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontanians are upon me. I must, at all times, display... Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon. Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards? Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
Farina. Farina.
Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are you?
Be not nervous. Be not afraid. I am before you.
Wait a moment. You're mirror me? How can...
Mirror you, huh? You know what? That's not bad.
Mirror me? What do you wish to say?
The prophecy. Have you heard of it?
What prophecy? Wait. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon...
Oh, very...
What's going on? I can't seem to
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you.
But doesn't that mean everyone will die?
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world I will tell you how to save everyone, but...
Oh, so there's still hope. As for the suffering, well, but if the prophecy will come true, I'll also, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side.
I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has...
Play as... a god?
That's right. You must begin a never-ending If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But...
But how will I do this? A human assuming the role of a god without...
Don't worry. What you must do is not to turn yourself into a... Being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity, but...
I'm still not sure I understand, but... So, how long am I...
To accomplish this mission, you will have to stay on the stage for many... But I promise you, all...
A trial, huh? The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession. What should I say to most appear... Ladies, and I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. In truth, I know little about becoming a nation's new god. As the god Focalor, the god of justice. Once again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the I thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was...
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses...
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions there at the end.
Shouldn't gods be all-powerful? She's being so modest. What?
If you ask me. Perhaps the succession didn't actually happen. She might just—
Wait, what's going on? Why is everyone suspecting me of being right? Mirmi said that I just need to play the calm down, Farina. Think. Assertive, with a strong sense of presence. One who can just... Oh, very good, my people. Only ones such as you are deserving of my... Now, I was wondering if some weak puppet were to one day come on to this... Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it... Now then, let's...
Ah, so that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were inside a...
Personality? It's quite shocking, to be honest, but I suppose it's a better look than before. Such a fascinating and bold deity. How wonderful! Our future may yet be bright after all.
It seems I've turned them around. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, keep faith in your ardor for justice. We have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer... No, this won't work. They'll suspect me again. I must play the role that they want. The scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, may law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve, so long as I, the Archon Focalor, stand within the Opera Epiclese. So...
Lady Farina, here are today's case reports, as well as a summary of the file.
Come now. Besides, none of these trials were the one that I'm looking...
If I may be so impertinent...
A magnificent, dramatic, and wondrous trial.
That's true, I fear I lack the ability to grasp your divine thought.
No need for fright, and do not take what I said before too seriously. Go now, do your duties. The trial I await. It will come one day.
Lady Farina, I don't know what to say. Thank you for agreeing to see me.
No need to thank me. Or rather, thank your own sense of perseverance instead. Long have you stood in line to meet me, have you not? Oh, I'm afraid that's just an inevitable consequence of my divine charm. All right. Deoteria, is it? How is your son's illness?
He is doing much better now. In fact, he is far more of an arc.
Oh, good. Very good. If this should happen...
You're such a gentle and wise god.
Lady Farina, here are the latest hydrological reports. As for the specific parameters you asked to take note of,
I see. It's as I thought then. As your god, I did already expect this, but all manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will still come to...
well, as I understand it, the Fontaine Research Institute is also
Really? Have they found anything?
I'm afraid that they haven't found any effective solution thus far.
Is that so? Well, no wonder. This issue has reached the realm of the gods, after all. Still, their spirit is praiseworthy. The day is finally over. But it's good to see that everything's getting... Maybe this is fine. I just... Alright, Farina.
Lady Farina, here are the new trial reports for the latest...
There'll be no need for that.
Lady Farina, I've...
Indeed, my dear, loyal citizen.
Lady Farina, we're detecting significant hydrological anomalies near Poisson.
Understood. Keep monitoring. Keep me informed. I don't think I feel utterly exhausted.
Lady Farina, it's... I've heard that the first member of our family who was honored to receive an audience with you was Madame Dio...
And what a fine family yours is indeed. What is it?
Are you crying?
Uh-huh. Really? This must be the overflow of hydro from my person. Well, can't quite help being the god.
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your...
So interminable. Hundreds of years must have passed by now. I never imagined. Have I reached my limit? I want to tell someone, anyone. I've conducted so many investigations across the... All I can do is keep heart. I must maintain this...
Farina, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone. Your
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone.
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, you can still choose to confide in someone. Just share it with me. I'm what you'd call a witness.
A witness? Yes. I've heard that you came to Tevat, and if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage... She's right. I could, but if things don't play out as expected... No, Farina. You shouldn't... But what if
Farina, you've worked so hard for is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find if you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, think about it. Long and hard.
No, I have nothing to say. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness my performance until the curtains fall.
Fine.
So even Farina doesn't know the truth? You've never once let her in on the full...
Yes, it had to be done. To deceive the heavenly principles, you must first deceive yourself. She did very well. If she had let her resolve falter even once in the... It seems that trusting humanity was...
I believe that I understand how your deception works. How would you build on this foundation to save the people of...
Ah, good, good. Of course, the Iudex of Fontaine has pinpointed the... I'm sure you've long sensed that the Oratrice is no simple...
I've always suspected that it had its own consciousness. And Lenny did mention that he heard a human voice. It now seems that that person was you.
And then I became one with the Oratrice, taking Fontaine's gnosis with me. Yes, it would... Alas, your understanding of this device... In truth, it is no enactor of justice. It is, in fact, a device... Oh, you have it. And to be more precise, not... I mean, did you think I would be the sort to... My work over these last 500 years has been to constantly accumulate But really... Some have already discovered that only a small fraction of the energy the vast majority had to be accumulated to enact.
It was all a part of your plan then?
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained Fontainians for millennia had it only been used for that purpose. Almost all of it has... But... only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne.
So the Oratrice's call for death was for neither Farina nor Focalor, but for the Hydro Archon. The destruction of that divine throne. If I do not misunderstand your intent...
Returning what's rightfully yours to you, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to the Hydro Dragon of this planet.
But...
Oh, what? Getting sad again, are we? The authority of the ancient dragons shall soon be yours once more, O Hydro Dragon Sovereign.
All you've done throughout the years is just so you can sacrifice yourself at the very end.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm quite pleased at how well my deception worked. Hydro Dragon, don't cry. I must say, had it been within my rights, I would have loved to judge the heavenly principles themselves. Were they not guilty of essentially the same crime? Egeria stole the power of the primordial sea. And the heaven... I, for my part, am the god of justice. Speaking of justice, I have always believed that justice... So, if the theft of the primordial seas might, then, leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontainians as humans, in other words... Existence was Egeria's justice, defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontaine's people shall live at this point. We, whether it be myself, Eudex Neuvillette, the highest judge in our land, when you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign.
So when I was invited to the court of Fontaine to serve as Eudex, I see now at last. In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought up. You are a devious one, Focalor. Things being as they are, surely you know that I could never declare them to.
The hour of my execution is almost here. For the sinner, the curtain call has come. I know I may not sound it, but faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Neuvillette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
I, Eudex Neuvillette, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.
There's...
What just happened?
Was that bright light some sort of misdirection?
But since we're all still alive and haven't been dissolved...
It's time to end this. We must mete out punishment to that.
Didn't you say just a moment ago that it can't be—
I have gained the strength sufficient to deal with it. Through certain means, I now have the ability to we should seize the opportunity to pursue our quarry. Traveler, now that the oratories can no longer function, I require an executor to help me mete out justice. The root of the calamities befalling Fontaine, the beast that enacts the prophecy. Its name is the all-devouring narwhal. Come with me, traveler. The hour of execution has come.
We're going to execute it?
already done my best to separate the power of the primordial sea from the whale. Considering the size of the beast, I cannot reach the power source. Unless we can find a way to attack it from within. I shall share a part of the ancient dragon's power with you. We shall look for an opening together. I can feel its sorrow turning into hostility. The all-devouring narwhal cannot resist its instinct to devour. Continue to trigger its hostility. Chance will present itself.
Why is there a hole-looking thingy over there? It looks really scary. Sun rises.
I have granted you my protection. Do not fear. Seize the moment and use my power to suppress its root from within. Manifest the authority of the ancient dragons. Witness the might of the
Thanks for helping with the cleanup. It should have been my job, but it was just supposed to be a short private training session for me. I didn't think that my disciple and my master's pet would start brawling in the Well, actually, I had a feeling that it would happen at some point, but they bumped into one another earlier than I thought. What a blunder. I suppose I'll have to swing my sword 3 million times as penance.
power. Who?
Paimon has an idea. From what she said earlier, she must be Child's master. It's just that he gave us the impression that she was, less...
I simply did not have anything to say to the weak. But you, on the other, so you may speak to me as equals. I have to agree. It's a strange use of a planet's primordial waters just to raise an all-devouring narwhal. That kind of power is wasted on it. It's not cooperative. It eats too much. And I have more important things to do with my time than pet sitting. The only thing that creature has going for it. All in all, it fails as a pet.
Miss Skirk?
The point being...
Well, being that this pet almost... So what sort of person is your master? Well, Child's master's master. Wait.
Oh, right. So you don't know him. His name is Sertologi.
Huh?
I am unfamiliar with that.
Huh. So Master isn't sufficiently famous.
The fowl?
Still nothing? Well, how about the vision?
Ooh, that one we've heard. Doctor's part of the Hexen Circle. She's Albedo's mom, right?
Oh, so you do know that name. To be honest, I also... But I suppose you understand now, yes? My master is likely a similar sort to Rhindot.
Wait! Didn't you also mention a visionary person?
Actually, never mind that. I believe it expedient to inform you that the all-devouring narwhal used up nearly all its strength fighting. Such roiling hydro energies will prove difficult for the planet's deep seas to digest. As such, the fontaine back on the surface has most likely been... In other words, the prophecy that you've been fretting over.
What?
Not to worry. Focalor has already managed to deceive the heavenly principles.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only Farina will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Help! Over here!
All hands, initiate emergency rescue!
Hurry! Hey, lend a hand! Look! The water's receding!
It's a miracle!
Water's receding.
We didn't dissolve. The prophecy was wrong. The prophecy was wrong.
Are you alright?
We're saved. The prophecy was wrong. The soil renewed. The Smina di Rasula tax post-disaster rebuilding. I recently visited Poisson to meet with Miss Navia. Old soil can still give birth to new bloom, Miss Navia stated. Hope is like seeing a small cookie when you're starving late. Skyship Winglet, booner brain of the Fontaine Research Institute. The various disputes that have arisen on account of Mr. Edwin have suddenly become a shield over the Institute. People always call the first researcher mad, but few know what to call the second. And should that latter person achieve... Wow! Paimon barely recognizes the people in the reports. Are those really Jurier and Navia? They sound like real big shots.
What do you think? Pretty enthralling, huh? The Steambird's idea was pretty simple. With the disaster just having passed, we would the value for these big scoops lies in their inevitable follow-ups. We'll publish further reports and go into the stories behind those people. Edwin's assistant, Jurier, created a true flying ship, while Navia is leading people in the reconstruction of their home. I'm sure that these stories could draw even your well-traveled eye.
Paimon's curious too! Wait...
And that's exactly why I'd like you to come conduct interviews with me. You're the best incubators of news, if you haven't noticed. And also, with you around, I'm sure I'll get to see that Duke.
Are you sure?
Oh, this time will be different. Come on, let's head to Poisson first, and then make a trip to the fortress. There are some things you'll only know when you get there.
Search for it.
Navia!
Oh, it's you. What brings you all...
Hey, we're just having a look around.
I'm here to update myself on how things are going here.
Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Garunt Snežević. He represented the Knave. Our residents are hard at work as well. Thanks to everyone, work is progressing nicely. We've locked...
Hello, Miss Charlotte. I'm a big fan of yours. I especially like that article you wrote last year about... But if you don't mind, could you not emphasize our role too much in your report? It's not charity we're doing it.
I get where you're coming from. I'll keep it as simple as possible. Or would you be willing to feature as friendly...
That would be fine. Thanks.
Oh, you're back too. How are things?
We finished laying down the construction materials. It'll be enough.
Huh?
Well, her reputation's greatly risen after that whole duel business with Miss Farina. So she's here in Poisson to wait.
There's too much to consider in the reconstruction of Poisson. The Spina has need of more decision-makers. And...
Oh, wait just a moment. Do you mind me asking a few questions? You know, about how you felt before the...
Forget it. I'm sure you can find a better...
I see you're the same as always.
Well, if we're talking about doing things for my sake, you might as well just take a few more photos of me. Or of the Traveler. It's better than wasting time
Of course I will. I'm not gonna let her off that easy. All right, then everyone who wants to be in the photo, gather...
Was it a good shot? Did Paimon look...
Not bad. Your addition really helped the composition of the picture. All right, hang on a moment. Let me snap a few more shots. All right, that should do it. I'll be back here later anyway, so let's call it a day.
You're very quick.
Speed is of the essence when it comes to the news, and freshness is the... Also, not to brag, but I'm pretty good at building connections. Who knows?
Wow, you really do have...
I'll hazard a guess that this is how you got that interview at the Fortress of Merope.
Whoa, you're well informed. Let me make a guess, too. I asked Sijuin, who told Monsieur Neuvillette, and he told you, right?
That's a... very...
In truth, all Monsieur Neuvillette asked me was... When did the fortress become so I told him that it was best not to speak too soon. There's no guarantee that rides...
You're right. I've got to treasure every moment I have with them. In which case, I'll be making...
Stay safe now. And tell me if you hear anything interesting.
again, huh? There's a real nostalgic feeling to this place.
Looks like you've been missing us.
Duke! Did you come all the way to the...
Of course. I'm here to welcome you and our dear Miss Charlotte, whom are...
It's an honor to finally meet the much-rumored Duke. Thank you for consenting to my visit to the fortress, sir.
No need to thank me. But that said, I shouldn't be the focus of your interview. I trust you recall our agreement?
Of course, of course.
All right then, this way.
Hey, no need to be so Miss Charlotte.
It would seem that Miss Lorvine doesn't want her face to appear beside that of...
Sir, please don't say things.
But it looks like dear Mr. Jurier denies it. Might this interview be very...
No, I just...
Now, I might not look it, but I actually did meet Mr. Edwin once. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed chatting with you more. The boat that brought about a miracle, the ark that saved the people. Why, still, if I might ask, where's that fly?
Huh. Looks like Charlotte's trying to get her...
I have to apologize, but that ship is presently in the bowels of our factory.
Really? Well, then in that case...
You already know my answer, I'm afraid. Best you interview our head nurse instead. Or perhaps you'd...
Did you really have to use the word couple? Well, then, 2 solo photos...
Is my hair messed up? Please, someone help me have a look.
Things sure are getting pretty lively here.
Oh, seems like everyone's here. Would any of you like to try this?
Ah, Siegeween.
Hey, Miss Charlotte. Sure. Come on, Miss Siegeween. Sure. Do I have to smile?
So, how have things been at the...
Same old, as you can see. Fontaine...
Other than that flying ship, I got a tad too...
That's why I decided to let the interview go through. We should direct more public opinions toward the behind-the-scenes...
You're too kind, sir. I believe that you too should have your...
I'll just leave the spotlight. I see. Lots of things happened that day, huh? Anyway,
He sure did win...
I'll tell them that there's good news and bad news. The good being that their boss seems fine, and the bad being that they must...
Oh, actually, what about you?
What change can there be? The fortress will keep chugging along. As to what Miss Farina's departure will mean for the nation, and if our laws and governance will be transformed, we'll leave those to the...
Hey, everyone. The photo shoot's done.
Good. In that case, let's call it a day.
Thanks for your cooperation. Come on, Traveler, let's go.
There'll be a next time.
Maybe. Who knows? I might write a story about the underwater factory next time. All right. Last stop, the docks. Navia mentioned that she stayed in touch with Linny and the others after working together. Apparently, they've been at the docks distributing these
Traveler, Paimon. Ah, and Miss Charlotte, too.
Would you like a magic pocket?
What sort of get?
It's a wondrous bag that can be used to carry many things. The water level has returned to normal, but if you see any of your things floating around, you can use
Trick a friend.
You could just make a friend like Fremine here. Isn't that right, Fremine?
Is this what you meant by,
To be honest, that sounds pretty sweet. Could I have your contact, please?
Sure. Please, write down my address.
Lynette sure is working hard to help Fremine socialize.
He was the one who proposed doing this. He even wants to assist in our magic shows.
Yes, I was planning to first introduce Pear as an assistant, and later Fremine himself. in the future...
That said, would anyone want to see a diver escape underwater?
Oh, it'll work out. Every journey begins with the first step.
Lynette, could you come over? Miss Charlotte says she wants...
Got it.
My, that Charlotte is rather perceptive. She got rid of everyone the moment she realized I had something to say to you. Father says that you did a great deal during the latest events. She's very grateful for your...
That's all right. We were more than happy to help.
Oh, I guess after Lady Farina left, Father and Monsieur Nervillet opened negotiations during...
A diplomatic gift?
Yes, I was quite surprised at first myself. But when I thought it over, it could have been done as an apology for the incident with Lord Child, or as thanks for his help in time. Furthermore, Father did also lend significant aid to Fontaine.
That's true, but this is a gnosis we're talking about.
I would agree, but I've also heard that it seems that Monsieur Nervillet has had a
So there's some reason for...
I suspect you'll have to ask him about that yourself. Ah, yes, speaking...
Isn't he real busy and stuff? But back to the topic. The gnosis was given to the knave, right? What about...
They say that he's returned to Snezhnaya to recover from his wounds. I hear that the recent disaster really...
That's true. When you think about it, we've had loads of runs...
So shocked by such a simple switching of sides?
Father!
Well, what do you know? Come to the docks to see how my children are doing and meet the traveler by chance. Please do not pay my accomplishments.
Are you going to take the gnosis back?
That is our duty as harbingers. Yeah, don't be too preoccupied with sides. The goal of the Fatui concerns not a single place or person, but the entire world. With such a switching my masks is something I've always... Well, that depends on many things. No one truly knows what the future holds. As for you, I very much look forward to our next collaboration. Good things cannot be achieved alone, and you've proved yourselves to be great partners. A vision? All right. I'll remember to return it.
And that's a wrap for me. Huh? You...
Greetings, Miss Journalist.
Hello. If I'm not mistaken, there are diplomatic channels I'll need to report to take a photo of...
That is correct. So forgive me, but I will not be able to serve as a subject in your article. However, feel free to write as much as you'd like about our dear
I will.
The sea breeze is quite pleasant. I shall continue my walk while the weather remains so agreeable.
Farewell, Father.
Oh, she has such an intimidating presence. I didn't even dare to take a picture. Thankfully, I've already wrapped up all my pre-scheduled interviews.
Don't be too nervous. Why don't you take a magic pocket before you go? Here, Traveler, Paimon, you take one
To move things about?
That's right. Funny. I was giving out magic pockets when we first met, too. I guess this must be life. We will all follow our... All right, then. We'll be handing out pockets and some up...
Well, guess we sent Charlotte off. Shall we go see how Nervillet's doing? Of course. The entrance to the fortress! Ooh, he really is there! So, you really are here, Nervillet! I didn't think you were going to have
Really? Oh, I suppose you must have met Mr. Linney. He took the time to greet me earlier when he passed this way. In any case, you came at a good time. I was just considering reaching out.
Aw, Paimon's glad that you remembered. Alright, let's have it then. How was Fontana?
It is strange how words can often.
Whoa. So, Focalor destroyed the divine throne of the Hydro Archon and restored your power team. But Paimon still doesn't quite get what you did to save the Fontanians from dissolving.
For me, the authority of the ancient dragons refers to absolute control over the hydro element. Fontanians were incomplete humans born of Egeria's use of the power of the primordial sea, with constitutions similar to that of mimics. But so long as those primordial energies remain within them, I could use. In other words, when I gave my verdict, Fontanians became true humans, and thus would naturally no longer be dissolved by water from the primordial sea.
Focalor must have counted on you to make that decision as well. Your verdict was the key to making the prophecy appear to have come true while saving them? Yeah! And in a manner of speaking, Focalor finally managed to fulfill the original Hydro Archon's wish to turn Oceanids into real people too!
It seems from your expressions that you still have more things you wish to ask. Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it. I have investigated his case along many avenues, and I have learned that he once fell into. But whether it be by sentiment or reason, that should not have been enough to consider. As for the judgment passed by the Oratrice during the whether it was due to that liability by association, or Focalor deliberately using him to buy time for.
Guess Focalor had Fontanians in mind the whole time. In the end, it was thanks to her that they finally became real. Hang on a second. Back when Fontanians hadn't yet become real humans.
Life has always flowed like water. Do you recall how Fontanians would often.
Yeah! Lynette said the fountain is where.
In truth, even those couples did. Those Oceanids who were blessed within the spring water.
Paimon sorta gets it.
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Yeah, about that.
Ah, Lady Farina. The people are only aware that her death sentence has not been carried out. She abdicated the post of Hydro. I related Focalor's words to her faithfully and completely. After hearing them, she simply said that she was tired. Having said that, she then packed her things and moved out of the opera house.
But she's.
You need not worry. I will make arrangements to ensure that she will not want for food. In truth, I am somewhat happy for her. The wear and tear on her. But now that she no longer has to play the role of Focalor the Hydro Archon, she can finally.
What about you then? What are your plans now that you've regained your.
After Focalor passed on, this matter will directly affect our trials. After much careful consideration, I've decided to take over its role in our courts.
Looks like you're still considering stuff from the.
As an elemental dragon, there are indeed many things that I must do. But this power and this duty, as such, before I attend to my other responsibilities, I must first and foremost continue to serve Fontaine as its. Additionally, the Hydro Archon's departure has brought about another problem, which is that the Opera House shall no longer
That's true. That power was derived from the people's faith in the Wait, but the various mechs and machines in the city are all still okay.
As I am now, I have full command over New Musia, and it can serve as a complete substitute. Another reason.
Wow. This ancient dragon's authorities to.
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Oh, that's right! They say you've given it to the knave as a diplomatic gift or something!
Leaving aside their intentionality, the two Fatui Harbingers have indeed done much for us during this. Their sole remaining goal in Fontaine, at least at this, the Oratrice has ceased to function. The Hydro Archon's divine throne is now. As such, it has lost all meaning. If the Fatui have impure designs, then we might as well accede to their request now.
What complicated considerations? Paimon thought you were.
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it. You will soon be heading to Nat. I'm afraid that I have little talent as a travel guide, so all I can do is, as far as I'm aware, Natlon can be said to be
a nation of dragons?
No, I suspect that I would not find myself. Unlike ancient dragons such as myself, the dragons of Natlon have undergone long. Natlon is also the nation of war. There is one other piece of information I got incidentally. The Harbinger known as the Captain has thrown his hat into the.
The Captain. Sounds like a real tough customer.
I suggest that you fully prepare yourself before going to Natlon. In the meantime, ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Hang on a sec. When we spoke to Linny earlier, we guessed that there might be some reason for it that only—
No wonder the House of the Hearth is the Fatui's intelligence. So regarding this specific issue, I will— In truth, I exchanged some further words with that lady named Skirk after sending you two back to the surface. It went something like this.
Well, we're going to head topside to see what's going on. You hurry.
What next?
The all-devouring narwhal. I can finally catch the scent of your power. What it's made of. It is the authority of the planet's primordial dragons. But with something very similar to a god's curse. I'm sure I've encountered something like this before.
I do not know what you—
Of course. You should have the remains of the third descender on your person, yes?
Remains?
According to your—
Well, that much is true. After Focalor's divinity, but I fear I have never heard of it described in the manner that—
I've been training with my master, the Fowl, ever since I was young. And I have never— It is only natural for those who are greater than humanity to Regardless, you should probably get rid of objects of misfortune. To prevent any disasters from befalling. To live in itself is a blessing. But once a person dies—
What do you mean by that?
No need to fret. These are just my—
This third descender you refer to.
Master never mentioned them to me. If you're interested, though, I could ask him. I'll be sure—
Next time, you believe we—
I do. Wait.
That's what she told me. Whether it would prove useful—
The remains of— So that's what the no-seas actually are. Paimon just thought they looked like chess pieces.
All the same, assuming that there was no misunderstanding or special metaphor at play, that is what she—
And she said that it would bring misfortune and that you should check it, which is why you gave it—
If she speaks the truth, then I would simply be putting Fontaine— I guessed that you might already be familiar with this concept, but I did not— That means that the no-seas, which are exceedingly element-compatible and can even enhance elemental abilities— I wonder—
Like being able to use elements— No, let's not think about this stuff right now. Comparing the Traveler to the dead third that's what you say, but this time— Once child recovers, let's get some more answers.
I too believe it unwise to make too many blind guesses when information is lacking.
Alright. Whatever the case—
Yes. All of—
But she sacrificed herself in the—
I suppose that would be the mystery of a— I suspect not. But once in a while, I too would guess that if wishes were like the clouds, life flows like water, and rain, and what ultimately